our distinguished speaker. So Eleanor is from the STEM Center. So.
Hi everybody. So I have the pleasure of bringing to you today Ms. Kat Bobino. She's an innovator. She's someone who's challenging diversity in STEM at all levels, K through 12 and beyond. And she's going to share with you her interesting work as somebody who's running In the Know, a consulting business, right? And her other ways that she's changing the shape and face of STEM in media. So, Kat Bobino.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Usually I'm very loud, but I guess I'll try with a mic today. But my name is Kat. I am here to talk to you about STEM, so science, tech, engineering, and math. And to give you a little bit more about who I am and what I've done, I've prepared this wonderful PowerPoint for you. And I also want to make sure that we keep this informal. So if you have questions, you want to talk to me, just say something, raise your hand, it's good. You know, I want to make sure that we are always all on the same page and that we are all interacting and conversing, mostly about STEM. So yes, that's my business, In the Know Consulting. I've had it for a few years. My whole idea behind it and tagline is I want to diversify and demystify STEM. So I don't know about any of the professors who are here, but as for myself, I am born and raised in Oakland. And then, that's right, born and raised in Oakland, East Oakland, baby. But when I tell people that I'm a biologist, a lot of times people say I don't look like a biologist. Or they can't see me in a field of biology. And my question to them is why? Well, what does a biologist look like? Where is a biologist from? If you can't tell me that, then don't tell me what I should look like and what I should do, right? So biology, yes. If you're from East Oakland, you know this corner. This is High Street and MacArthur. And this is the side of the area where I grew up. Born and raised, went to school here, went to a school called Maxwell Park before they changed it. I don't know why they changed it, but yes, I grew up East Oakland, went to Montera Middle School, if anyone knows anything about Oakland, and then I went to high school in Alameda. And I went to Isnell High, and that's where I first really got my intake on what it is and to be in science. So has anyone here ever been to Encinal High School or know anything about it?
I went to Montera.
Cool. You went to Montera?
Montera.
Okay. But if you've ever been to Encinal, it's right on the water in Alameda. And if you go to the back of the school, it leads into an estuary. So an estuary is where salt water and brackish water meet. And so this is where sometimes we get a lot of living organisms there. So I had a great opportunity with my senior class. I had a professor or a teacher who did marine biology. So we actually put on waders, went outside into the water, into the bay, and we collected samples. And that was my introduction to science outside of a laboratory. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to wear the white lab coat. I don't have to be in a lab. I don't have to be boring in this white, sterile place. I can actually go outside and do something that's very interesting and work with animals. So that's where I first got my start. And I grew up watching Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I don't know, this might be too old for you guys. Anyone know what the cartoons are here? Yes. Captain Planet and Magic School Bus. But did you realize they're the same kids? The redhead, the blonde, the Hispanic, the Asian girl, and the black boy? Oh. They don't really stray too far if you actually pay attention to the cartoon. But yeah, they don't stray very far. But then in high school, which this still exists, if you want to look it up, is National Youth Leadership Forum, and I did mine on medicine. It's a forum that you can do that your teacher has to nominate you for, but you can go to different schools and different programs and learn what it's like to be in medicine. So when I was a senior, or after my senior year, that summer, I went to UCLA, and I studied what it was like to be a medical student at UCLA. But with that program, I was able to go to China and Australia and to see what it's like as a comparison of medicine here versus medicine there. And it's a lot different. There's a lot of what they call homeopathic medicine in Asia and Australia. We like to do a lot of pills. Are you sick? Here's a pill. You know, oh, your leg is cramping, here's a pill. But over there, they're like, okay, no, let's do some herbs, let's do root, let's do meditation or anything else. We don't always have to do pills. But it also gave me an opportunity to travel for the first time and to learn what it's like to do science or medicine in a different place. And that's something that to this day I like to encourage is make sure that you don't be stagnant. Don't think that what you're doing in science, tech, engineering, math is one-fold. That you don't have to go anywhere, that everything you do has to even be in the United States. There's science going on all over the world. And I've had a great opportunity to travel to different places and meet different scientists doing great things around the world. So I went and got my education at Stillman College. That's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I went there on a full academic scholarship. So that's one of the things, oh, thank you. But what I like to talk to, especially to the high school students and still to the college students, is there's grants, there's scholarships out there. You know, a lot of times they push FAFSA, which is great, but I do like to tell people that most of FAFSA is a loan that you will have to pay back. But if you can get what we like to call free money, which is a grant or a scholarship, then maybe you can go to college on someone else's dime. But that means doing your homework, getting your education, or going in on a scholarship for a variety of things. I went on education because of all the brains I have in here, but you know, it could be sports, it could be music, it could be a variety of different things, but you have to look for them. They don't just give you the money, you just gotta look for it, and they're out there. There's plenty of scholarships out there. All you have to do is apply. Oh, and then I went to Cal State East Bay for my master's degree in biology, which was great. I decided to come home like 6 years ago after working for 10 years or so and get my master's. So it's never too late to go back to school, and it's never too late to do something that you really want to do. And then before I came back though, this is what I used to work with. I used to work at a veterinary clinic with the kittens and the puppies, and it was fun, but it's not all that. Just let you know. But one of the things that I did learn during that expertise, that time, because that's when I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian, is if there's something you want to do, either get a job or volunteer in that field. And you can do it now, even in high school or in college, because what you don't want to do is spend the next 5 years towards a degree you don't use, right? You want to make sure that this is something that you're really going to be interested in. And it's okay to give your free time, AKA volunteer, in a field so that you can learn. And sometimes if it's a field that you volunteer in and you actually really like it, that company can give you a job. Now I've known people who, while in college, did internships at NASA or did an internship with Google. And then once they graduated, they actually got a position there. You know, so it's important sometimes to give up your free time to get to where you really want to be. And that's another animal. So this was my first logo. I've been doing this for like 5 years. I've had so many logos created. At this point though, what I've done as a STEM ambassador is go out and I like to tell people stories. Like I said in the very beginning when I went out and I would tell people I'm a biologist, a lot of people will say I don't look like one. Then I started to really pay attention to television and media and how they portray people in STEM. You know, and if you're really paying attention and you're looking at it, how many women do you see on TV doing anything in science, tech, engineering, or math? Can anyone name me one? Who?
No, I'll say Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy, okay, fictional, I'll do that, but let's say non-fiction.
Bones, the TV story Bones.
Bones, I'll give you that, but that's still fiction. What about non-fiction? Still fiction, but it's still good, still good.
Oh no, one of the Big Bang Theory, like a young lady, it has a PhD.
Yes, she does. She absolutely does. If you're in my age bracket, you know her as Blossom. But on Big Bang Theory, she's Amy Farrah Fowler. And Amy Farrah Fowler, when she first did television, she was young. She was Blossom, and then she went to college afterwards. She got her PhD in neurobiology, neuroscience, and then she decided to go back to acting. And now, if you really pay attention to it, if you got the women on Big Bang Theory, you got Amy, you have Penny, and if someone is young, do you think they want to be Penny or do they want to be Amy?
Penny.
Penny, most of the times, right? Penny kind of got what she wanted throughout the whole episode. And every season, if you look at her, her hair changes, her clothes changes, she changes. Amy Farrah Fowler never changes. She wears the same type of clothes every single season. They do not play her up to be someone that anybody will look up to and say, when I grow up, I'm going to be Amy Farrah Fowler. Because I don't want to be Amy Farrah Fowler to this day. She seems nice, but I would never want to be her, right? But when we say nonfiction in STEM, for men, you got Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking, people like that, right? But where's the women on that field? Right? And why not? Why we don't play up, there's plenty of women in STEM, plenty, but why we don't showcase that? There's plenty of diversity in STEM. We just got Neil deGrasse Tyson a few years ago. Just got a black guy, right? What about a Hispanic person, an Asian person, an Indian person? Where are all those people when we talk about STEM and we talk about nonfiction? So that became part of my journey, and what I wanted to do is tell the stories of diverse people in STEM. So with doing that, I had a show, it was a local show in San Francisco, where I interviewed diverse people in STEM. And here's the thing that I learned when I decided to do that. They want to tell their story. And not only do they want to tell their story, they want to reach back and bring you up too. All they need is a platform. When I said, I'm going to do a show, I'm going to interview people on STEM every week, I put it out on social media, anybody want to tell their story? When I did that about 3 years ago, in about 6 to 8 months, I interviewed over 30 people. Because that's how many people wanted to tell their story. And that's how many people was like, here's my Twitter, if anybody want to follow me and ask questions, or here's my email, if anybody wants to go into the field of meteorology or astrophysics or biology. Like, they want you to come with them. They want to bring you up with them. You just don't know about them because they're not put on media. And now I've converted my show into a podcast. And I did the same thing. I put a blast on social media. Who wants to tell their story? And since I started it, I think in August, I've already did 10 interviews, and I'm booked every Wednesday until November, because that's how many people want to tell their story in STEM. And so I started filming at Cal State East Bay. I went to the, what is that called? It's where all of our garbage go, to the dump.
Waste management.
Waste management, thank you. But there's only a few people who work at waste management actually at the shop, and that's the people who do recycling. So if you throw your stuff into the green bin or into the garbage bin, that's never touched by a human. They just dump it and keep it pushing. Recycling is the only one that they actually have people working on. So one of the things they say is, if you don't know if it's recyclable, put it in there anyway, because they'll do it. But if you don't know, they'll just put it in the trash or you put it in compost, then it just goes wherever it goes. And then I did some work in the laboratories and at some of the zoos around here. And I don't know, I'm a stickler for animals. I like animals sometimes more than people, so. That's why I like dealing with animals. See me with my little gecko and the turtle. And then I did an episode on sweating, and I realized I can't jump anymore. Like that, I don't have any hops anymore. I did when I was in college, but not anymore. But, and this was at the San Francisco Zoo. And this is a sizzle reel I did. Let me see if I can play it. I'm gonna go over here and do it. This was made for me.
show that is geared towards elementary children, but more specifically, young girls. For so long, young viewers of televised science programs have seen male hosts, but have not had the opportunity to see any women represented in the science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM fields. Catamron Bobino, creator and host of In the Know, gives a fresh take on a variety of science ideas and subject matters. She breaks down concepts that viewers of all ages can grasp. She shows how fun science actually is and the women who get to partake in this fun every day.
Awesome. So that one was made for me by students at Cal State East Bay, which I love. It was great. But then, as time progressed, I started doing more and more stuff. So over the time, I've been on BBC, PBS, KQED, and Coffee 20. Now that's just some of the things that I've done locally, although the BBC and PBS was actually viewed international. Wasn't my show, unfortunately, it was a show I was on, but I'm working on that. So, I think I'm going the wrong way. Oops. Here, I don't know if anyone's heard of Stephen Hawking, but I was on this show called Genius with Stephen Hawking.
Now that we're talking galaxies, it's time to introduce a new scale model. Our next challenge is pretty simple. If we could fit our galaxy on a smartphone and Andromeda on a tablet, how far apart would they be?
So these are our galaxies.
This is the Milky Way, and this is our closest galaxy, Andromeda.
The Milky Way is 100,000 light years side to side. With that information, I want my volunteers to work out the distance between the two galaxies.
So our Milky Way is 100,000 light years wide, and Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away. So on this scale, comparing this to this, how far away is this galaxy?
So this is 100,000 light years across, and there's 10 times that is a million. And so that's 2.5 million light years away. So that would make
25 of those.
25 of these. Should we measure it?
I'm gonna make you guys actually go look it up and watch it. You'll see the end of it. But, and then this is the video I did for KQED. Has anyone ever told you to pick one major or choose one career? Well, it doesn't have to be an either-or situation. We went to the Conservatory of Music and met someone who didn't have to choose. Meet entered this contest, a soprano opera singer who also happens to have her PhD in cognitive neuroscience.
There's a real disconnect between the neuroscience of learning and how musical training is taught. I felt that that might be a way that I could actually bring the two together. All right, so today we're going to talk about learning versus performance. And so that's what I started to do, is build this program.
Yep, you're gonna have to look that one up. And then, this is just me, but I was on a trip to Alaska last year this time, on a research boat, for free. And we'll talk about that later. to get at is being someone who was born and raised in Oakland back in the 80s and 90s. Yes, I'm telling my age. You know, sometimes we were told we didn't have a lot of opportunities. You know, where you're from, your background, your family's background. Sometimes it seems like you're in a pit that you can't get out, and everyone is still holding you back. And they're saying, oh, if everyone else is doing this, but you're over here doing that, how are you going to do that? Because we don't understand it, so we can't help you. Now, I can honestly tell you, I'm the only person in my family who loves animals as much as I do, and science as much as I do. You know, I don't hate on my family, but I can't sit and watch reality TV and discuss it all day. It's just not my flavor. But they can, and that's fine. But I prefer to do other things. I prefer to be outside. I prefer to go hiking. I prefer to do whatever I want to do. But in order to do that, I had to get outside of my box. I had to get outside of my environment. And for me, going to school in Alabama, which a lot of people was like, oh, it's racist there. It's Alabama. It's country. What are you going to do there? Right? But I got a full scholarship. And being the youngest of 4, and by the time I was 10, I had a nephew, and by the time I was 11, I had a niece, and 15, I had another niece. So we had a big family, and my family was like, well, we're not going to be able to afford college just anywhere, so you're going to go with the full scholarship. And I was hesitant at first, but it was a great opportunity. It was a small HBCU called Stillman, and I'm still friends with them to this day. And I can still call on professors. And I graduated college, telling my age, in 2004. And to this day, I'm still communicating with them, and they'll still help me if I need it, right? Then I didn't come straight home. I went to Texas for a while. And through Texas, I've gotten a lot more friends, a lot more people, and I came back here. But it means going outside, going to events such as this one, going to programs and going to schools besides your own. The reason I was able to go to Alaska, and I couldn't find this video for New Zealand, but I would have put that in there too, and I went to New Zealand last year, is basically because of who I know. I had a great opportunity to have a friend at UC Berkeley whose full title is a micropaleontologist. She's a black lady, she's about to get high, and she's one of the coolest people you'll ever meet. She's from San Francisco, and when she went to college, her degree that she was pursuing was photography. But then in her junior year, one of her professors said, why don't you take this geology class, you know, to help your GPA or whatever. And she did. She fell in love with geology. So now as a geologist, mind you, I'm older, never took a geology class, didn't know anything about geology. But as a geologist, she's traveled to over 30 countries doing study, work, and has not paid for it because there's so much money in STEM. And so she's the one who told me about School of Rock, which is play on words because they're all geologists, they work with rock, so it's School of Rock, right? And she said apply for it, so I did. That gave me an opportunity to go to New Zealand for a month, paid. Just so I can, first half was to learn what it was like to be a geologist. Second half, because I didn't want to come back. So I was like, I want to spend some more time than just this educational aspect. And because of the work I did there and the people I met in New Zealand, they were like, hey, do you want to go to Alaska for a week and sail on a research boat and see what it's like to be an oceanographer? I said, sure thing, sure do. So that's when I went to Alaska, and this thing, all this stuff was funded. And I'm still getting calls. I have people who's waiting for me to come to Australia to talk to the researchers there. And just, you know, I gotta figure that part out, but I plan to go. You know, but those opportunities are available. And what I'm trying to do is not only show you these opportunities through media, but show you the diverse people who are doing it. It's not just a cookie cutter, older white guy. There is a variety of people doing a variety of things in STEM, and they really want you to take a part of it and to take those opportunities and go and learn what it's like to be in science, tech, engineering, math. And so that's the journey I hope that futuristically you follow me on, because I plan to keep doing this in media. And at that point, I'm just stop talking and see if there's any questions.
Are there any challenges that you faced versus like your appearances? I see you have purple hair and stuff. those are expressions in some communities could be found a little bit too extreme. Do you see those preconceived notions in some people's perceptions of it?
I can see that sometimes, and that's because there is an older generation that's more with the standards, which I don't mind at all. And that's the thing is like, I wore purple hair today because that's what I felt like doing. But if I was going to an internship or a job opportunity, something like that, I would not have purple hair. I would change it because I need to get in first, right? I need you to let me in first, and then I will express myself a little bit later. But I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff on TV as far as STEM. I mean, there was a guy who got in trouble at NASA when they did the rocket in the air because he had a t-shirt or a button-up shirt with a whole bunch of like half-naked women on his shirt. I don't know if you guys remember that, it was a few years ago. But once you get in the field, there is some interesting people in the field, not just hair color. There is some interesting things. There's a chemical engineer who was in the paper a few years ago. She's like full body tattooed. So it's not a stop for you to express yourself. It might be a stump sometimes, but it's never a stop. But I just say get in the door first and then express yourself. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Some of the colleges, like, were there certain expectations that they had?
Some of the who?
Was there some expectations that they had, like, for classes that you were taking? Like, I know there's expectations period, but was there some expectations that they had above usual?
The only expectation to take a STEM class is your grade. As long as you get the grade, they'll let you in the class, you know? As long as you can improve yourself.
Do you have to be, you have to stay in college for 8 years to be a nurse? If you want to be a nurse, do you have to stay in college in 8 years?
Depends on what kind of nurse you want to be. If you want to be a general nurse, 4 years, bachelor's degree. If you want to be a nurse practitioner, maybe 8 years. You can always go and get your PhD in nursing and be administrative.
In Kaiser?
Yeah. You can do it through Kaiser, yep. Kaiser has a great nursing program. So it just depends on what level of nursing you want to go to. And then you can always start with a bachelor, start working, and then some places will pay for you to go back to college.
Yeah, and I know it's not about it, but they make the big bucks.
Yeah, well, nurses do make some pretty good things. Yes. Anyone else have any questions? Don't be shy. It's okay. Just ask away. Yes, ma'am.
What were some of the adversities that you went through going through your education?
Let's see, some of the adversaries. So one of the things is for undergrad, I went to a small HBCU, so a historically black college university. And because of that, they're more in depth with you. You know, if you're messing up, they're going to pull you to the side and tell you you're messing up. You know, you're not a number anymore at like a big university. They're going to pull you and say, you got to do better. And then when I went for my master's degree, the only adversity really is time. And not everyone, it's hard to get in everyone's lab. So you kind of have to schmooze and be nice to people, which is not always my forte, being nice. But you have to kind of schmooze and then prove yourself. I mean, but I've heard stories, telling people stories about STEM, that there's so much adversity that's changing, thank goodness. But one of the ladies that was on the video, she is a physicist at UC Berkeley, and she's a little bit older than me. So when she was in elementary, they said, or middle school, if there's something you want to do, you have to go interview people in that field and see what it's like. And she did, and at that point it was all men, and all the men told her she couldn't do it because she was a woman and she couldn't do the math. Now she has a PhD in physics, and she's doing it. So, you know, sometimes there's adversity, but you just gotta be like, you know, I'm not paying attention to that. Usually I would use more colorful words, but I'm trying to be better, but that's, you know, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep going my way. Yes.
So you said that people tell you that you don't look like a biologist. I was just wondering, like, what do you think about that? Like, what goes through your head when you hear that?
Well, like, the main thing is, well, what does a biologist look like? You know, what does a scientist look like? What's the preconceived notion of being a scientist? You know, we come in all shapes and forms, colors, and likes and dislikes. So that's always my thing. And then when someone actually verbalizes it, that makes me feel like I probably don't want to talk to them very much anymore. Because, okay, that's how you feel. But, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Yes. Okay.
I was just listening to you. It's very good to hear you. My question would be, were you on a waiting list? The competition that you speak about, there's so many men, there are women. So I mean, there's something of knowledge or status that you know. So is there a waiting list now, or, the knowledge that you have about STEM and how you're promoting it, so that means that you have some insight about it. Do you know of any statistics you can give about STEM itself? Not because it sounds like it's easy, but is it really as easy as you're making it to be?
That's a good question. I don't have any statistics on me, but what I will say is when it comes to people of color, the number is drastically small. And when it comes to women, you know, we hopefully think it's 50-50, but it's not. It's more like 20-80. But so people will say to me, you know, science class is hard, I can't do science. But if you can remember a song, then you can remember science terms, because it's all about repetition. You know, the only way that you learn the latest rap song is because you've heard it a million times, right? And you memorize the words, and so now you know it. It's the same thing with science. The words are a little bit more complex. I'm not going to lie to that. But it's all memory, you know, and then you just kind of have to know your level of expertise. Like, I can do science all day, but I can't do anything about a car. I can't change the oil or do anything like that. I know my limitation, right? So as long as you know it, it's fine. But I like to put it to you this way. If you go to medical school and you have a doctor, medical school is pass or fail. Nobody goes to the doctor and say, what's your GPA? You know, were you an A student, were you a B student, were you a C student? It's pass or fail. So as long as you get that degree, no one's asking that GPA. You just got to keep going.
Thank you.
I think it's a mistake to look at things in a negative way and say because of my race or ethnicity or my sex that I'm not going to make it. I think you just go out there, you find what you think you like to do, and you do it.
Yes.
And you just assume that you're going to be successful,
Yes.
and you will be. Maybe you will be the only one in the group, but that's okay. Maybe it'll be harder for you, but there's also a greater sense of achievement in the end that you broke the barrier. Now, obviously I'm white, and you probably think that was easy when I went to medical school. Actually, I was told by the director of admissions that I really couldn't go to medical school because I was a woman. After a while, they relented and said if I took a psychiatric test, maybe they would consider it because it wasn't normal for women to want to go to medical school. It was normal for men, but not for women. Well, that was only the beginning, because when I went through obstetrics, the men got on call rooms, they got all the deliveries. I was called up because I was wearing the same uniform as everybody else. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? Dress like as a pink lady? I won't get any deliveries. Nobody will want their babies delivered. My friend who became a radiology professor had to sleep on the beds in the active TB wards. So I'm not saying there aren't more challenges, but there's a greater sense of reward, and there are things that you can do later that other people can't do because they haven't had the same path. So I really urge you all to think very carefully of STEM careers. There's so many careers, so much useful things to be done, so much fun, and there are also jobs. So it's a good investment of your time and your youth. Now, the other thing is that things have become much easier. It's still not a piece of cake. But when I go back to my medical school now, instead of being one of 6 women in a group of 200, there are now 50% are women and minorities. It's a big, big change. And if you come as a minority or a different background, it's actually a help, because people want diversity. They want people who can relate to various groups of people. There's also often more money involved. So whatever it is you want to do, just go for it. I guess that's it.
I mean, that's very true. I mean, that's right. I'll add to that because, like I said, it took me into my 30s to learn anything about geology, because I never took a class in geology. But when I went and I learned about it, it's people who work on volcanoes, it's people who work on icebergs, it's people who work in oil, it's people who work with microorganisms and oceanographers. Like, there's so many jobs that fit under that one umbrella title. And so you don't have to feel like you have to do just one thing in one path. It's just opening your mind to these concepts that those jobs are out there. And like the woman I interviewed who was a neurobiologist and an opera singer, you don't have to choose just one. If you're an artist and you're also in science, that's cool too. Because I've met a woman who did origami, but she was able to add robotics to it and make origami buttons. And so you don't have to differentiate. You know what I'm saying? If you like hair, okay, cool. But then you can also go to medical school and do dermatology and also do people's hair. You don't have to pick or choose. It's all about opening your mind to different concepts and different opportunities. The problem is, STEM seeds and School of Rock have been around for years, but we don't know about it. It's not advertised. It wasn't advertised to me. I never saw it on TV. I never saw it on the internet. I only heard about it because somebody I met. And so sometimes it takes a little bit more research on your part to find some of these things, but also talking to your professors, because they know a lot more about opportunities that's available than your classmates and the internet and Google. Let's just be honest, because they've heard of it, they know of it. So it's just opening your mind and being perceptive to it. Any other questions? Yes.
I'd love to see your travel. Now, for people who have other interests like photography or writing, I also would like to encourage them to travel, because you could, as a photographer, you could take pictures or make movies about, all this exploration. And if you love writing, you take a few science classes, you could be a science writer.
Yep. When I was on that research boat in Alaska, there is a researcher, I don't remember her name, but she's originally from France, but she works at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. And she's a biologist. But what she has this new equipment that came out that all you have to do is put a drop of water in it and it identifies the DNA in that water. Now, the company is promoting it. So they gave her the equipment for free. But they also sent out not one, but 2 journalists to come on the boat with us so that they can follow her around and see what it's like. So even as a journalist, one was a videographer and one was a photographer. The photographer was from France, so they flew her out from France to come do this. And the videographer, he's a videographer from the States, but they flew him and all his equipment to Nome, Alaska. If you look it up on Google Maps, it's this big. And they flew them all out to Nome, Alaska to follow scientists and follow the work that they're doing. So, like she said, you don't have to be in STEM to do it. You can be in different fields and still have an opportunity to travel and see what all the things people are doing.
You started your own business. Can you have any comments on people who want to start their own business?
Oh, I say start your own business. Absolutely. As much education that I have in STEM, my previous job was actually as a financial counselor. So I was helping people with fixing their credit and understanding credit and also with understanding business. And one of the things I like to say is, if you are working at a job 10 plus years and you get sick or your family members get sick and you can't work there anymore, they are not going to hold that job for you for too long. They are going to find someone who can do that job. And now what are you going to do? And a lot of people who have, for real wealth, have multiple streams of income. It's going to take a little more work than normal. You can't just go home and relax every day. But if you start your own business and you do something that you like, chances are you can have additional income besides the job that you're working or besides the fields that you want to study. You can have money coming in and you can start it off, and there's different ways to do it. You can do a sole proprietorship, which means that's just you're selling stuff, but if something happens and someone sues you, then they're gonna sue you and they're gonna get your money. Or you can do an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, which is what I have, and that's an umbrella term. And so the best way I can say umbrella term, if you think of Pepsi, right? Pepsi is an umbrella. How many things are Coca-Cola? Let's think Coca-Cola. What falls under Coca-Cola? Do y'all know the product? Sprite, Snapple, Dasani. Anything else? There's a couple others, but that's all owned by one corporation called Coca-Cola. But then they have these different lines of different businesses. And so I just encourage you to do it because you can do it. It's very easy nowadays, especially with like LegalZoom. You just get your own business. It costs some money, I'm not gonna lie, but then you can have possibly multiple streams of income. And it can be something that you like, and you never know who's gonna see it, especially in today's age of social media. Because how many people are getting famous because, I don't know, they were dancing? Or, they make buttons and somebody was like, oh, that's a cool button, let me do a story on it. You never know. So if it's something you're really interested in, I say do it. Because why not? What's stopping you from doing it? Any other questions?
We have time for a couple more questions, and then around 3-ish we'll go up and have some refreshments in the PS facility. So two more questions.
Would you encourage people to travel, young people to travel and volunteer? Because I know there are a lot of people who go to different countries, to third world countries, and teach English, and that you do not have to be a science.
Oh, yes. I absolutely do encourage everyone to leave their state, if possible, and go further if you can. Because one of the problems that we get is we think the whole world revolves around us, and that everyone acts the way we do. And then we also look at television, which is I'm not gonna lie, TV is just lying to you. What they're gonna show you, especially on the news, is every negative thing that they can find. How many times do you hear or watch the news and they be like, oh, this great thing happened in Australia? No, they're gonna say, oh, there was a shooting in Australia, and all it does is scare you. But if given the opportunity, you'll see that there's people who are different than you but have your values, or there's gonna be an opportunity to learn something new. Do you realize that I don't even think New Zealand was on my map, my radar to go to, and it's one of the best places I've ever been in my life. Like, the people are nice, it's clean, and when I say it's clean, you can go to, I went to gas stations in the middle of nowhere and people are walking around barefoot. I would never do that a day in my life here at a gas station. But that's how clean it is. That's just, they're so confident in their country that they're not gonna do anything of this nature, And their history is amazing if you ever have an opportunity to look into it. They have a great history. But you're never gonna see that on TV. And you're not gonna get that from the news. So if you have an opportunity, there's so many programs out there that will pay for you to go. Like Peace Corps is a great one. And, but Peace Corps is 2 years. But what I did, STEM Seeds, just look them all up and stuff, that's 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then they pay for you to go. And you get this amazing experience, and you never know who you're gonna meet. When I went to New Zealand, my roommate, she's a curator at the Australian Museum of Science. So now when I go to Australia, I have a whole museum to my disposal. And that's only because my roommate happened to be a curator. So you just never know who you're gonna meet. So I always say, take the opportunity to go.
If you have questions about STEM seeds or other opportunities that are similar, you can definitely check out Kat's site. But at cccstem.com, we have a resource database, or several of them. So we have internships and STEM seeds on there as well. So you'll find your sample application, some tips on how to apply. And so for any other relative internships that you want to check out, you can also look on there.
Yeah, there's Polar Trek. You want to go to, I think it's Arctic, the Arctic Circle? Mm-hmm. There's Polar Trek, and they'll pay for you to go. There's ocean exploration to be on a boat. I mean, it's great stuff. Yes.
I wanted you to emphasize a little bit of the setup that you did for all these interviews that you had. How difficult is it to contact people that you may not know or that you have to look up a little?
Not difficult, not all. Most scientists in this day and age, and most people, let's just be real, have a Twitter page. They do. They all have Twitter. All you have to do is send them a message. And if they don't have a Twitter, odds are they have some sort of website. Either they work at a school and they have a school website, they have a personal website, or someone you know just knows them. And then you just put it out in the universe and say, hey, I want to do this. Can anybody help me? The show I did with Genius with Stephen Hawking was a fluke. It just fell in my lap because I talk a lot, if you haven't noticed. And I meet people all the time, and I met this guy at one of these events, and I was like, man, I like media, I like science. If I can do anything science, media, I'm there for it. Like 6 months later, this is someone I don't know very well. He sent me an email. It's like, hey, I got this email. Don't know if it's legit, but they want to do a TV show, and you're the first person I thought of when they said science and television, so I emailed it to you. And I didn't know these people from nothing. I was like, well, I'm going to fill it out anyway, see what happens. And then I ended up in Nevada filming a show for a week, and that was paid for. And if you ever watch the show Genius, they always say, oh, we got common people who are going to do science things. I can't say, I refuse to say that I was common, but they did not tell us what we were going to do. They really didn't. They were like, wake up, be here at 6 o'clock. And so, yeah, the very first day, we had to be there to see the sunrise. And so I'm standing on the beach like, okay, what are we going to do? And then all of a sudden, there's a helicopter flying in. I'm like, am I supposed to get in this helicopter? You know? And it was fun. It was one of the best experiences. But it's telling your story, being open to who you are and what you want to do, because you never know who's listening.
You've dropped a lot of gems about, finding these new opportunities, and for a lot of folks in here, they're just starting to make connections. And so do you have any recommendations for maybe some things to look for in a mentor, some of those folks, like the woman who connected you at UC Berkeley to STEM Seeds, some things that they can look out for in a mentor or somebody to help guide them through as they get to their next steps as they're here in community college or high school?
Right. So when it comes to finding a mentor, first I would identify what it is you think you want to do, because no one's life trail is straight. Sometimes we think we want to do this, and then we get bumps and bruises along the way. But identify what it is you want to do, and then try to find someone who's doing it. And then ask. And if this is someone who, the thing about it is, most adults are busy. It's just plain and simple, they're busy. But finding someone who makes time for you, instead of you annoying their time, is what you want. You want somebody who's going to check in on you without you even trying, And then one of the gems is you want to make sure that someone's talking about you in a positive light when you're not in the room. Mm-hmm. So it's putting your best foot forward, too. The thing about it is where a lot of young people fall short, and some adults, too, some too grown for they should know better, is what you put on social media, If I look up your Twitter page, or if I look up your Instagram page, or your Snapchat, what am I going to see, right? And honestly, if I'm a mentor to you, or if I want you in my life, or I'm going to introduce you to someone else, you got to make me look good. So I can't have somebody else looking up that Instagram page and being like, oh, so that's who you talking about? Because they acting a little ratchet right now, and I don't know if I want them in my business, So you can't have a lot of hoopla going on, or if you do, make your page private and don't share it. Don't give it to me. Don't give it to no mentor. If that's how you want to act on social media, don't share it. But, make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and making sure that you represent them well. Because when you represent them well, they represent you well. So that's what you want. So that's what you look for.
Any last questions? I have one more.
Okay.
So we're talking diversity in STEM, and all these different folks. Who are some people that we should know that are doing really cool work and maybe aren't as represented on mainstream media, maybe as they should be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. There's so many people. Let's see. see. I know a chemist who does acrobats. She's pretty cool. She just moved to DC. I know another one who moved to DC. She actually has her PhD in like global systems information, but she was a DJ at a club, so she was really cool. Then let's see, the micropaleontologist at Berkeley. She's amazing. There is a microbiologist at NASA Ames who studies microorganisms in sulfur climates because that's what they think Mars is like. So she travels all over. And so the micropaleontologist, that's Dr. Lisa White. I'm trying to remember everybody else's name. I come across so many people. That's a shame. I know. There is a lady, by the way, if you're free on Tuesday, there's a free event going on at UC Berkeley at the Bantu building. It's Women in Technology, and it's women from around the world coming next week to do this like program. It's a free program too. It's on the 8th, all day, super free. But if you were to go, you will meet all these amazing women from around the world who are doing great things in technology. So that's happening on Tuesday if you're available. But yeah, I don't know. It comes to me. It's better to be like, hey, do you know someone in this field? And I'm like, oh yeah, let me get my email and find it. And I'm pretty sure I know someone in that field. So that's the best way to do it.
Thank you so much, Kat. So where can people find you if they have additional questions or want to look up the work that you do?
You can Google me. But everything is the same. So Kat Bobino is my Gmail, it's my Yahoo, it's my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook. Don't add me on Facebook though. It's all family. But yeah, you can find me anywhere. Everything is just Kat Bobino. You just put that in, I will pop up, I promise you. You put that in YouTube, you might see a couple cat videos. Those aren't mine, but I am on YouTube. And you just put my name in, you'll find it.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. We have refreshment in Physical Science 109, all right? Thank you.
If you have any more